And welcome everyone to Indie Spotlight. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. If you're watching live or on replay, we definitely appreciate all the support. I'm one of your co-hosts for the evening, co-founder of Wicked Publishing, Michael. I'm joined by other co-founder and co-host for the evening, Matt. How's it going, Matt?
How we doing, everybody?
And today we have a really awesome creator with us today. Goes by the name Yithril online, but why don't you give us a formal introduction on who you are and tell, for those who don't know who you are, tell us a little about who you are and how you got started in comics.
Cool. My name is Jonathan Hopp. I am the author of Journey to the Middle Kingdom, which is the comic I've been working on. You can see the poster behind me. And it is a webcomic that I started a few months ago that is all about Chinese folklore and Chinese myths. And I recently launched the comic on Kickstarter to get funding for the first issue. So the comic is ready to be in print and for the first issue to come out. Issue number 1, Legend of the White Snake Maiden.
Very cool. Thank you for taking time to talk with us tonight about your comic, about your Kickstarter. We definitely appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. It's great. It's always great talking with you guys.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that as well. And of course, there's a link on the screen for those who want to go check that out. We're going to be diving into this. We're going to be sharing the page so you can see all the different perks and everything that's on offer there. But definitely going to be a really fun evening here tonight. And so before we dive into the main page and kind of, like I said, taking a look at the perks and all that good stuff, why don't you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to want to create a comic that's kind of set in ancient, inspired by ancient Chinese folklore?
So a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I was an Asian studies major in university, which feels like forever ago now. And I learned Chinese. I speak Chinese, among other languages. And one thing that helped me to learn how to write it, because that was always the most difficult part. I could speak it pretty well, pretty fast, but writing the language is tough because it's not like English, it's not like French, it's not like an alphabet where you memorize letters. It's a bunch of symbols you have to memorize how to pronounce them, what they mean. And so one day my imagination just started wandering, and I was just the characters, I pictured them doing things and being, like, for example, the character for fire, I'd imagine flames. That would help me to remember how to write it and how to read it and what it meant. And then I kind of took the idea and it kind of went bouncing around my mind for a while. And then I just said to myself, one of the things I used to help my reading ability is I got some books on Chinese fairy tales. Actually, I got one right here. It looked like this.
Nice.
Very famous series of Chinese fairy tales, and it helped me learn how to read. And I said, well, I wanted to combine the two. I wanted to combine my love of language learning, my love of the Chinese language specifically, and then all these great stories I was reading while I was trying to learn the language. And so I sat down one day and just said, okay, well, I imagined writing the characters in the air, having them become real. So I decided that I would start Journey to the Middle Kingdom, which is about 3 teenagers who are plucked from their daily life and thrown into a mythical past world where they're given magical brushes by the Jade Emperor that whatever they write a Chinese character in the air, whatever they write becomes real.
That's awesome. I love that. It's a bit of a isekai story, isn't it?
So yeah, so essentially the comic starts out. So it's a web comic which is available at jtmkcomic.com, which is free for to read. And I come up with a new page every Wednesday and Friday, and in it, basically the characters start off. They're basically 3 American high school students, and they're doing their thing, right? They're studying, they're playing sports, they're doing extracurriculars, and they are slowly but surely they start having weird things happen around them. And towards the end of the issue, they are thrust away from their regular world to the past, and they are thrown right into it. They're given their brushes and their powers and their mission, and they basically have to just get started. So yeah, it's isekai in every sense of the word.
Very nice. Yes. No, I think I'm getting some feedback on mine. I hate to interrupt you. I may be coming through your end there. I'm not too sure. Sorry.
Sure, I can adjust the speaker a little bit.
Appreciate it. But yes, that is interesting. It is kind of it's a very popular genre right now, and especially in like anime and manga, and then whatnot. So
Oh yeah,
it's really fun to see that. I love your take on it. You know,
I thought
it's
it'd be
very
fun.
fun.
You know,
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah.
it kind of frees you as the author when you're writing. That you don't have to stay in the mundane world. I can just go. So, for example, in each issue, I deal with a different Chinese fairy tale. So they kind of go from story to story, not necessarily in
Mhm.
chronological order. So it can be just kind of be where I want it to be.
Yeah, pretty cool. I like that. Yeah. And the first one you've done is, I believe you said, it's based on this Snake Maiden. Is that right?
It's called Legend of the White Snake Maiden, which is issue
Nice.
number one.
And what can you tell us about this first issue?
So in the first issue, we're meeting the three main characters you can see in the poster right here. That's actually, there's main character's name is Jason. He is Chinese. He immigrated to the United States when he was about 7 or 8 years old. And he's got his two best friends, Michelle and Sabrina. Michelle's an artist, and she is very, very good at it. She's an up-and-coming artist. And Sabrina is sort of the brains of the group. Um, like very smart, very up on her studies. And in the first issue, we meet all three. And we sort of get a sense of who they are as people and what their daily life is like. And the main thrust of the first issue is that Michelle starts having dreams of a woman who is trapped in a pagoda across a lake, and she doesn't know if the woman means well or if she's in danger or what this all means. Aside from that, Jason sees a magical phoenix while playing basketball. So basically it's this sort of like they're having this mundane everyday existence as teenagers doing their thing, and then these magical occurrences start happening.
Okay, it's kind of like the introduction into this other world and that kind of thing.
Right. So I talk about the Legend of the White Snake Maiden, which is a 500 or 600 year old Chinese fairy tale.
Oh wow.
It's really old.
Yeah.
It's had some time in the sun. Um, it's about a snake maiden, so a spirit creature, who's lived for over 1,000 years and falls in love with a human, and they get married, and they fall in love with each other. But spirits and humans are not supposed to be married to each other, and so they are targeted by a Buddhist monk named Fahai, who basically feels that their marriage and their existence is an affront to his sensibilities. So he eventually becomes powerful enough to take this white snake maiden and lock her away in a pagoda for seemingly eternity to keep them apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like that part's kind of sad, but in the end, the white snake maiden has a friend, the green snake maiden, who eventually avenges her, defeats Fahai, and frees her from the pagoda. And that's sort of the original story, but I have my own kind of take on it.
Nice. Of course, you got to add a little spin and interpretation there. I would imagine to kind of add your own little fun, element to
Give
it.
a little spice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I love it. And again, as a person who loves all everything from history to legends and folklore, I just love that aspect of it. And especially since obviously having studied it and the language and having a background and knowing a lot about this seems like a very natural fit for you to want to write something like this.
It like I said, I always I love to read. I love learning languages. It dovetailed quite nicely. When I was a kid, I used to love Greek mythology. Like I read everything you could possibly read on Apollo and Jupiter and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then Norse mythology. And so like it, I'm always drawn to fantastic tales, right? Like, things that take you away from like normal reality.
I like that. Yeah. That definitely makes sense then with the isekai element as well there.
Yeah, so it's because a lot of these stories. So, for example, most people in America have never heard of Legend of the White Snake Maiden. That's not a normal tale that we hear. That we hear Hans Christian Andersen. We know Grimm's fairy tales. There's a lot of things in our canon we do know, but I kind of feel like the world has so many stories out there, right? In Legend of the White Snake Maiden, if you go to China, yeah, people know it. Like it's like yeah, duh. It's like Red Riding Hood.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I like that. I like that you're trying to shed light on some of the maybe stuff that we don't necessarily see a lot of. Because, like you said, we see, of course, we see Norse mythology all the time and Greek mythology. So it's nice to kind of see some other mythologies and stories that are as well known.
Yeah, just from other cultures. Like I said, there are this book series I showed you. It's kind of cool. There's one book for each month.
Oh wow.
The
Okay.
idea is you're supposed to read the book with your read the stories with your children, and
Mm-hmm.
then each month they have a set of stories that you go over. So some days you may go over some short ones, some longer ones, and so it's a whole series. So it kind of dawned on me. I was like, there's so many stories here, and I
Hmm.
never even knew any of these existed.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty amazing, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, it just blew my mind. Like, there's all this rich cultural treasure trove. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm a writer. I have this idea for these characters. I'm like, why don't I kind of put them in this world and add my own twist to these stories?
It's kind of just waiting to be reinterpreted for a new generation or a new time, in a sense.
Yeah, a new culture because, like I said, this is a world of Chinese folklore, but the main characters are all American. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
it adds some complexity because, for example, two of the characters, Michelle and Sabrina, the girls don't know it. Like they know as much as the average American does about like Chinese culture, Chinese mythology. Jason's
Okay.
main character knows a little bit from what his grandfather tried to teach him, but as you know, like sometimes your parents try to instill their knowledge into you, but you're when you're young, you resist it.
Yeah, true. I like that. It's kind of giving us a view as a viewer. It gives us, or the reader, it gives us a kind of a window into into this new world that we may not be familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. And the characters sort of help the reader in understanding because, like I said, these characters, some of the characters are starting off with the same level of knowledge, and they have to learn the culture. They also have to learn how to use the brushes, and in order to use the brushes, you have to learn Chinese characters.
Right, because the brushes play a big part in the magical element in this universe.
Exactly.
hmm Okay, very nice. Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. It's a great rundown of kind of the overview of the series. And now that we've kind of dived into that, I'd like to take a look at the campaign itself and start going over
Okay,
some of the
cool.
perks and whatnot. So I'm share that up here on the screen so everyone can see it along with us who's watching here on YouTube. And want to start off, of course, to say that right off the top, very awesome. You guys reached your goal. Your initial goal here was reached yesterday of
Yep.
$2,000. So congratulations. That's very exciting, man.
I was
Yeah, very
floored.
nice.
Right? Yeah, that's what you want to see. That's really great. So, and of course, there's still 15 days. So I understand you're kind of working up some stretch goals. Is that right?
Yeah, I announced the first stretch goal yesterday.
Nice. Very nice, man. And what's involved with the that stretch goal?
So there is going to be an art print. So basically, all the
Nice.
people who back the physical copy of the comic will be receiving an art print, which is a scene from Legend of the White Snake Maiden, a very famous scene where the White Snake Maiden, Bai Sujun, meets her husband, Shushen, at the Broken Bridge, which is a real place. Like,
Okay.
it is a
Really?
fairy tale, but it's actually a physical
Oh,
spot
that's
you can go
cool.
visit if you go to China.
I like that. That's very nice. Well, that'll be very cool. So it's a print that's going to be included with the physical backers.
Exactly.
Very nice. Well, again, yes, just want to reiterate that they met the goal. That doesn't mean that they don't need the support. Every little bit really helps and helps the comic, get as big as it can. So please check it out. We're going to be diving into these perks here, and if you like what you see, definitely give it a backing. But first up, we're going to go ahead and check out a look here and see what we got going on.
There's a lot going
Very,
on.
very. I want to point this out for the folks who maybe didn't notice this. Great team at Comics Wellspring. They print our comics here as well, and they're high quality comics. So you can trust that you're going to be getting a nice high quality physical book here, which is always a good thing. Glad
Oh,
to
I
see
love
that.
them. And also, they're down the street from me.
Oh, really? Oh, that's hilarious. And then, so yes, the first step here we have of course, you can support the comic with if you don't want to get a reward, you just want to support in whatever dollar amount you can. Even if it be $1, you can always do a pledge without a reward, and that's simply a donation that helps support out in any way you can there. Then we have the pledge $1 more. We have a fan tier, it looks like, and this one is probably similar, kind of, basically letting you back the book and support in any way you can there.
Yeah, be privy to all like the updates and like
Oh, nice.
sketches and things like that. I've been doing a lot of updates talking about what's going on with the campaign and fan tier. Basically saying you're a fan. You want to see it happen.
That's cool, man. I like that, and it's nice that you're going to be like giving the updates and progress and stuff. So keeping them in the loop on how things go. I like it,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Then we got our $3 or more here, and this looks like possibly our digital tier. Is that
Yep.
right?
You got it.
You always
And
gotta
what's
have a
cool
digital
is-
tier,
Yeah, I mean, I have you'll basically get the electronic version of Journey to the Middle Kingdom, and the cool thing is I had a little extra sort of hidden incentive where the first 50 backers would get their name in the back of the book.
Okay, nice. So it's kind of showing that you're part of that, making that book happen there.
Yep, exactly. I wanted to kind of, basically have a little thing where it shows like, this book exists, I'm saying this printing, this exists because, are the backers and the readers are what we're doing this for. You know what I'm saying? I love to write. I love to write these stories and create everything you see here. The artist, I'm on a 3-person team. I'm the writer. Dimas Yuli is the artist, and Novella Lokritani is the letterer. So we're a 3-person team, and we all work really hard to try to get something people will want to read and really enjoy. So I wanted to make with this 50 backers incentive, I wanted to acknowledge that this work is because of the fans.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. And is this your first crowdfunding campaign?
I did one like 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
it's been a long time. So
was it also for a comic, or was it for something else?
I'll be honest, I actually did a Kickstarter for Journey to the Middle Kingdom 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I tried. When I was much younger, and I tried it. I had a different artist I teamed up with at the time, Gabriel Santiago. Yeah, he's gone on to bigger and better things since then.
Okay. That's really interesting. I love that coming back to something, and revisiting it and seeing success on this campaign. That's really cool.
I learned a lot from the first one. I also told myself that I don't like to live with regret. So I had this idea a long time ago, and I put it down for a bit, and I got a bit older, a bit wiser, and I was like, you know what? There's something. Why not sit down and make this work? Make it happen.
That's really cool, man. Yeah. And clearly, I think you've got have something here. You've responded with people, and people are backing it, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, I've been super psyched, just pleasantly surprised. I was just like, I'm saying, especially the first day we hit 85% funding.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. That's really cool. It just really goes to show you've been putting in the work already. Even leading up to that point, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Reach, and this whole process has been a real personality stretch for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably one of the world's most introverted people. And really? I've had to learn how to reach out and promote yourself and get your ideas out there. And people have been really positive.
Yeah, no, that's really great to hear. But you're right. I mean, it is like a whole new skill set, really, that you have to kind of develop. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally to most people. I would think.
Yeah, I mean, some people probably are a little more natural side than others. But for me, it has. I was just like, well, I don't know. Maybe my ideas will. You start having those thoughts, right? Like maybe this idea is too esoteric, right? You would be interested in Chinese folklore. Why Chinese folklore? Why'd you pick something like that? I say to yourself, you know what? This is your idea. You put your best foot forward. You do the work to make sure that it's professional looking and that it is the best you can do. And you just go out there and some people will like it and some people may not. But you know what? At least you did it.
And I think that's the smartest way to do it, honestly. Because if you're not doing something that you enjoy, then what's the point, really? At the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, and it clearly, like I mentioned, people are connecting with it. So I think you are onto something there. It's something that we haven't seen before. It's something different and something new. I like that.
That's what a lot of people have told me. It's not what people expected. You know what I'm saying? It's not a classic superhero comic, but it kind of is. Yeah. But it's fresh.
Yeah, it's got elements of something that we can recognize with the folklore and the magic, but it's bringing something that it's also bringing a lot new to the table with the new stories that we're not, most of us aren't familiar with, as well as like the way you're handling the magic and inspired by calligraphy. I think that's really interesting as well.
Right. So it has a lot of unique elements. I think that's what people are responding to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Now on our next option here, we have a $10 pledge. This looks like this is our first physical edition.
Yep.
Very nice.
Signed
what
by
comes
yours
with this
truly.
one? Nice. So this comes with the first edition signed. Is that right?
Yes. So for a pledge of $10 or more, you will get the issue 1, Legend of the White Snake Maiden, signed by me. And the first 50 backers will get their names in the back of the book. So, I mean, that's something kind of cool this is for Kickstarter only. So, after Kickstarter is done, I will go and do a larger printing of the book and start putting it out there. But for that Kickstarter, for the Kickstarter backers, that's something unique that, no one else in the world will have.
That's true, yeah. And there's your names are going to be etched in there, and that's going to be something nice, really kind of special for the backers.
Yeah, because Kickstarter is really special. It's a platform where I've gotten a lot of just surprising amount of support from people. Because you can look at when people pledge their support, you can see how many other projects they back, and there's a real community of people who are watching certain sections. You know what I'm saying? And trying to, there's a whole community out there, and it's just like they've stepped up.
They are. They're incredible. I love the indie comics community. They're always time to time you can come rallying behind and supporting each other. It's always incredible to see. Yeah, it's very cool. Now I want kind of a side note here before we go on to the next tier. I do want to say, because we haven't really talked about this, I don't think ever before, but you guys tell me, where was I can maybe guess, but where was the inspiration between the hair here? Because I'm noticing it's that's some really wild hair right there, and that's pretty iconic right there.
Oh, so you mean Michelle's hair?
Yes.
Yeah, her hair is. The people have noticed it. I wanted to make the characters unique, have their own unique style, and so she's the artist of the group. So again, the head, the brains, the heart. She's the one that's more in tune with the motion, and I thought she should have a very unique hairstyle, something free, something but would stand out. And at first I thought it would be distracting, but the more I look, the more you look at it, the more it's no, that's her.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and to me it almost reminds me of the pagodas. In a sense, and
that's, you can kind of see in the picture here, right? It's the artist Demas Yulee, the artist, has done just a bang up job of getting everything together, because we work real well together. So I personally can only draw stick figures. That's about the best I can do. But I can kind of weave the cover you see here. I basically I wrote a paragraph or two, weaving a small story about what should be on the cover and what it means, and he sort of interprets my writing and then comes up with things like this. And it's really a fun combination to work with the artist to kind of come with things, because he's got all these little details, right? The fog in the background, you can see there, the cliff and the pagoda, and then her hair matches it with that. There's little small things. He picks up on all these details. Every time I come back to it, I always find something new.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, I love when you can find artists that you work with that you just really connect with, and kind of takes what you want and then even makes it better than what you could have even expected. Yeah,
because it's sometimes we're on the same wavelength. I'm a very visual person. So when I'm writing a script for the comic, I often think to myself about what the strip should look like visually in my head. I have a very clear sense of, where each character is standing and what action's happening. And I write out the script, as far as the script if I can be. And so when I first started this whole process, I was like, well, is the artist going to be able to, he can't read my mind, can he? And the answer was actually, yes, he can.
No, that's pretty amazing, man. I love that. Yeah. That's pretty great. Now on the next tier, we have a $20 or more tier. This one's a digital desktop art. What can you tell us about this tier here?
All right, so it includes everything from the previous tiers. The new thing here is that you'll get 5 desktop art. So basically, desktop being for your computer. So it's a digital reward. And these 5 images are all done by Demas Yuli, and they tell the legend of the White Snake Maiden, and they get into all the details. So there is an image, for example, about the White Snake Maiden getting married to her husband on their wedding day. That's one of the images. Another image is Fahai at his temple. So each individual wallpaper will sort of show each stage of the Legend of the White Snake Maiden, and it's just gorgeous art. And I figured, Demas did some sketches and everything. I said, you know what? Like, there's no reason this can't, like, someone just wouldn't want to, like, look at this on their desktop. It's so pretty.
Very nice. And so is that something that's still being worked on in progress then?
No, it's ready. I want to basically say, like, I'm a planner as a personality type. I don't do anything without a plan. So basically, I'm ready to go with these prizes for the backers. So it's basically like I can get the book printed with Comics Wellspring. I know the owner. We're good buds, so like I can get things moving. So basically, all these prizes are ready.
That's cool. So in a sense, you can kind of pretty much get these out to backers pretty quickly, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted before the Kickstarter. I spent about 2 months preparing for this Kickstarter. I didn't just wake up one morning and do it. I got an entire detailed list of plans of how I wanted to do it, and I just my sense of responsibility, I wasn't going to commit to doing it unless I was absolutely sure I could fulfill everything.
Very nice. Well, I think that's a smart move. You know, not everyone will take that extra, effort to make sure everything is good to go. Some people will fly by the seat of their pants a little bit more. So I think coming to more prepared like that is ultimately a better way to do it in the long run.
I mean, I hit the ground running as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'm saying? Like, from my perspective, that's respect for the backers. You're basically telling me that you have read my vision, you've read my idea, you've seen the artistry, you've seen my idea, all my thoughts and what I want to do, and that you want to formally pledge and back it. Well, I need to respect that, right? I need to respect that energy you have, that positive energy you have for my idea. And one of my ways I can respect that is making sure that when you back something, you're going to get what you back.
Yeah, I think in today's day and age, that's really important. More than ever, I feel like people really that's the biggest thing they want out of a crowdfunding, just for the fulfillment, just the follow through on what you say you're going to do, essentially.
Basically, yeah, and like I said, to me, I guess I have a strong sense of responsibility, and for me, that's just respect for your backers.
Very nice, man. Well, I think that's pretty cool to hear. People can be rest assured that they're not going to be getting messed, or what's the word I'm looking for? They're not going to get screwed over in a sense on this deal. It's a surefire thing here, and of course, since it's already met its goal, you can basically back it knowing that you're going to get a book guaranteed at this point. So that's cool.
Yeah, true that, and especially if you're able to fulfill it. I mean, that's even more gain for later on as well, because everybody will know, like, hey, this guy's true to his word.
True. Yeah, they'll know that you can fulfill it on time and quickly, and that's just going to show people that they can back you more and more as you go. That's always a good thing, definitely. Now, we've talked over a few, some of the smaller ones here, but I think we're going to be getting into some of the bigger tiers here. So we now have a $35 or more pledge, and this one is the 11x17 White Snake Maiden poster. Very nice.
Again, Demas does great. If you actually scroll down, I can show you which image will be actually used for the poster. It's good. Basically, for the stretch. So basically, actually scroll up to the cover. Excuse me. The cover basically will be on the poster.
Oh, this one here.
Without the text, yeah. So that poster. So basically, I have one behind me.
Let me full screen you here real quick. Let's see here.
So in my room, I've got two posters. One is for the Princess of Yelang, and the other one's for the Legend of the White Snake Maiden. So mine's a little bit bigger, but it's basically the same idea.
Nice. Okay, and then it sounds like you're teasing over. I see another poster here. Maybe a tease for a future story, perhaps.
Yep, exactly.
I like that. That's cool, man. Well, that's gonna be a good poster. That's a really nice one right there.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just go. I love the art Demas did for this. You've got the pagoda, you've got the white snake maiden on the left and Fa Hai on the right, and the cover itself sort of tells a story in of
Yeah.
itself. You know what I'm saying? Before you even get into the meat of it, it's very visually appealing. I've had I just a couple just sample books to see how it look, have the book printed so I can see how it looked like, and a lot of people I'll just be in a public place with it and they'll just be like, "What's that?"
Interesting.
Who's
Yeah.
that? Who's like, you know what I'm saying? Just grabs people's interest.
That's cool. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. It has a kind of a balance to it, with the two characters on each side, and then the three characters down below, and with the pagoda in the center. It feels very balanced, and it is very visually pleasing. I think partly because of that. I think.
And I said, well, you know what? This is a great art. Let's make it a poster.
No, that's smart, man. That's a very smart idea. So this will be 11 by 17, and so this will be like a full-sized movie poster, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Hang it up
Very
on your
nice.
wall. You can enjoy it every day.
Very nice, man. With that beautiful art there. Excellent. Well, yeah, so that wraps. That looks like that wraps up the tiers there.
Yep.
But it looks we can go through the rest of the page here. Take a look at the art. There's art is really quite something, isn't it? It's very, very colorful, very vibrant art.
It's very reminiscent of Chinese. Manga is the Japanese word, and the Chinese use the word manhua, which is
okay, yes.
it's written the same. The Chinese characters that are used to write are exactly the same, but their pronunciation is slightly different. So Japanese people say manga, and Chinese people say manhua. So that's
really
very close pronunciation, but it's slightly different.
Oh, that's cool. So this is kind of closer to how the manhwas would be, kind of like their traditional style.
Yeah, in terms of the colors, right? How bright and how vibrant the colors are. So like
Very
in this,
cool.
like you can see right off the bat, like the greens and the oranges and very, you know what I'm saying? I think it's very visually appealing, especially for like because the book is for all it's for all ages. So you know, young readers will love this. My friend, she got a copy for her granddaughter, and she told me that her granddaughter couldn't put it down. She even took it to her to church.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the art just it pops. It's very, like I said, it's vibrant. It draws the eye. And I'm sure that's what we're going for. Here we see a little sneak peek at the stretch goal poster there, which is another great. That's an iconic image. I love that picture that of the two, you know, kind of there on the bridge
when they first meet. Yeah. It's like I said, it's really cool. If you ever visit Hangzhou, you can actually go to the Broken Bridge. Like it's a physical place you can go to.
That's so cool. Yeah, I would love to visit China one day. I think that would be an incredible thing to do. I had like a relative of a friend who went, and they went to Tibet.
That's quite a trek.
Yeah, they showed me pictures and stuff. It looked wild, though. It looked like quite the adventure. So yeah, I mean that would be cool to be able to visit something as iconic as, you know, something that's an actual folklore or legend, you know.
Well, see, that was I lived in China for 2 years, and that was kind of interesting thing about it was like you can actually go to places and visit them.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? It's like it's something that really fascinates me about countries that are that old, is that there are these things from like you could have things that are like from thousands of years ago, or places that are, you know, are from, you know, that long ago and stuff. And for people who live in the West, it's like such an unknown concept because the most we have are like things that are like 200 years old. So it's like completely different.
It's like 200 years old is ancient.
Yeah, really. So it's like it's so different. Like it's such an interesting concept, and it's such a fascinating place to visit. I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I went like, you know, well, that's a good example. So like, I live in the city called Qingdao, which is on the Pacific Ocean across from Korea. So it's more towards the north of the country. But I did get to take a train around China, not everywhere because the country is absolutely huge. But I think it visited some pretty decent places like Hui, which is where Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was partially filmed.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, everybody knows that. That was like the first big movie that really blew up over here. I feel like for my generation at least.
Yeah, I remember watching as a teenager, and then I was like there, like that, like
Wow.
that feeling like, wow, this is it.
That's really cool. Yeah, that would be
Man, I
amazing.
bet that was quite the experience for you, huh?
Seriously.
Especially since everything was when you said in China a lot of things are old. Having a 300 or 400, 500-year-old temple or building is like nothing, right? Like it's just just chilling there. People like, yeah, it's been around there forever.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's really true. Like I've been reading a lot of and looking at a lot of Romance of the Three Kingdoms stuff, and I just recently learned that Guan Yu was deified.
Yes.
And I was like, wait, what? And looking it up, I was like, wow, they really loved Guan Yu a lot.
Well, the loyalty.
The loyalty, his honor, and even learning about like on how during a battle he was the one that let Cao Cao go away when he was practically gonna lose, and all because of him, his empire basically took over.
Yeah, and that was so basically talk more about that. So Guan Yu, it was a trap basically. Cao Cao had been destroyed at the whole for when Cao Cao invaded this south where Sun Quan was lord. Cao Cao had Sun Quan beat like 3 or 4 to 1. Like his force, he had like a 1,000,000-man strong army. He was supposed to walk into Wu and just crush them. But he was defeated at the Red Cliffs with a clever stratagem by Zhuge Liang. And so Cao Cao basically had been retreating. He had lost men. He was, picture it, right? You were supposed to, this is supposed to be the final leg of your conquering China. And you are, beating your opponent 3 or 4 to 1. And they somehow managed to get you. And you have to retreat in shame. And then as you're retreating, you're still getting destroyed. And so Guan Yu has Cao Cao right in the palm of his hand. And
he let him go?
Kindness. Yeah, so I mean that was just like
that's interesting.
It's a super interesting part of the story. I get very animated with War of the Three Kingdoms.
Hey, no, trust me, I get it. I'm super into that. I found out that they had a show for it, so I'm looking on finding a way to watch it, so this way I can kind of get nostalgic with like what got me really into Chinese history.
I give you a link to a translated version of it, but there's a version of it that's an absolute masterpiece. I watched it.
Is that Anime
Very
Kingdom
nice.
about that?
I'm sorry?
There's an anime called Kingdom. Is that what that's about by any chance?
I haven't seen it, but I'm not sure.
I don't know if they have. I don't know if they have that. The one that I know of that's an anime that's kind of like that is,
Well, I know it's I do know it's. I'm pretty sure it's Chinese history of some sort, but I just don't know what era or anything of that nature.
No, I get it. There's a lot of different eras. Like
Right.
even during the Jin Dynasty, right after the Three Kingdoms, there's the story of the 8 brothers, the 8 princes who fought each other for power and everything. And then, but the only one that I know of that's an anime, as far as I know, would probably be Sengoku Basara, but that's about the warring state during Japan's history.
Oh, see, that's what this one is too. Actually, I just looked it up. It says Kingdom's also about the warring states period.
Oh, the same.
Yeah. For Japan, that is their Three Kingdoms era, basically, with Nobunaga Oga, Takeda, even Honda, and a few others who like basically almost nearly took power, but Nobunaga Oda's clan took over with Toyotomi, I believe it was, who
Correct.
basically kind of betrayed him and took over his thing and just demolished everybody in Japan, and then took over and created the Tokugawa.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, interesting. We're all learning something today. No, that's very cool. I love that, man. That's pretty interesting. And are there any kind of like books or anime or any kind of things that you kind of take inspiration from when you're writing?
There is a anime that is give me a second to remember the name of it. It's isekai. It is about a young Japanese schoolgirl, and she's in class one day, and a white-haired mystical being who's called a kirin, like a unicorn, comes up to her and says that she is the queen of K, and that he will pledge his undying loyalty to her. And she's like, "Who the heck are you?" And what? And then he whisks her off to another world where she finds out that she's been chosen by heaven to be queen of this kingdom.
Is it called the 12 Kingdoms?
Yeah, that's it. That's the name.
I found it. Yeah, I just did a quick Google search and I found it here.
It becomes Queen of K.
Really?
It's a map. That anime, in my opinion, is a masterpiece in writing and character study specifically. For me personally, as far as writing, you want your characters to go on journeys. So that means that your characters have to undergo characterization. They have to change as people over the course of your story, if your story had any impact on them. And so the test is you look at your character on day one and look at your character on the last day, and you compare them, right? So that tells you where, have you done your job in characterization? Has your story had impact? Did the characters move and change along with what was happening alongside them? And that 12 Kingdoms, for me specifically, has some of those radical, believable, emotional, touching characterization arcs ever. And that's my inspiration.
Oh wow, that's cool. I have to watch that soon. It sounds really good.
It's extremely good. And I love it, and I would love for my writing to reach that level. That's my cool. Personal goal.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. I like that you have that goal in mind, but also just keeping in mind that idea of character growth, of needing that change from the beginning to the end. I agree. That's super important.
To give you a concrete example from the anime, one of the main characters is a spoiled princess who lives in a palace, and her father walls her off from life, right? He basically keeps her in a palace. She's surrounded by, guards and maids and money and endless food, and she dances, and, life is just wonderful for her. But outside the palace, the peasantry suffer and die and toil, and she's kept from everything that's going on, any negative things that goes on around her. Her father shields her from. And so eventually the peasantry rise up and overthrow their king because he's ruthless and tyrannical. And so when they kill her father, essentially, she thinks that the peasants are evil, and she's forced to kind of, engage with what her father's actually done. So if we're going for the day one, last day test of characterization, which I like to use, is on day one, she's a spoiled princess living in a palace, and she couldn't be bothered with with other people's concerns. And on the last day, she is one of the most humble, caring, empathetic people you ever meet. It's like a completely different character. And so the story, had enough emotional impact to take her on that arc.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. Yeah, it gives you that emotional payoff, the investment, and then the payoff for it. That you really makes people want to come back and keep reading these kind of stories.
And that's that to me, for writing is about the emotional payoff. It's about, do you identify with the characters? So there's something about them personality wise or the situation that you can identify with. Do you care enough about them to see them grow and deal with challenges? The story should present challenges to the characters. It shouldn't always be easier on them. It should stretch them and force them to grow as people. And then through that, as readers, we like to see that happen because we like to invest ourselves in them growing as people. That emotional journey hits those emotional notes. And that's what we read fiction for, is to have those emotional experiences.
And that's very true. Yeah, no, it's true. It's funny though, because I feel like so often it gets overlooked. Like, look at half of the movies that come out nowadays, or something, or what I mean, like, or half the stuff on TV, and you can tell that that's not even something that's really on the minds of people who are creating those things. It's just interesting.
It's my own personal way of looking at things. So, for example, it takes an example from recent pop culture, Game of Thrones, season 1 through 6. Chef's kiss, love it. Proper pacing. They had the whole episode where they were just at the bridge, completely compelling. They had very good character arcs, good psychological examination of each of the individual characters, how they react to things. Season 8 was a hot mess, from my personal opinion, because it was rushed. They did not take the character arcs seriously to give them time to breathe. It's like they knew the scenes they wanted to have, but had no clue how to connect them together.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah,
it came off that way to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like they threw away all the character development that they had just been building up over all these seasons and just kind of just rushed to an end.
There was no emotional pay. Like when you don't have the emotional payoff and you're hitting the right notes at the right times, you get disconnect as an audience. So, like, for example, I'm not, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, spoiler alert. But like, for example, one of my favorite characters in the series is Missandei, because I speak many languages. She does too, and so I identify with her immediately as just just her life and everything, and the way the ending of her story arc. You just as a reader, as a person watching the show, and someone who's really a fan of the series, I didn't feel much. I had no emotional impact because
didn't feel her and did it.
Just up and did it. I was just like, and it wasn't, her ending was fine in and of itself. Like, the scene itself was fine. The ending of it was fine. The timing of it and the execution were not there, so I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. I could totally see that. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's a fine line. All the elements have to be balanced to get it right.
And it's, what I'm saying, you have to take your time. That's like, so when I was writing during the Middle Kingdom, I know that there's with comics, there's people have to take page count into account, but from my perspective, I just said, you know what, I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to do the pacing I want to do, and take the time on how I want to do it.
So is that something you take into account when you actually write the issues out then?
Yeah, so little known secret, like I said, I'm a planner. So I have pretty much the first character arc planned out, which is roughly 12 issues for Legend of the White Snake Maiden. And I basically asked myself the question where Jason, Sabrina, and Michelle, the main characters you see on the screen here, where are they on the first day? Jason's the first scene we see Jason, he's just playing basketball with his friends. The first time we see Sabrina, she is, class president, ready to go to Harvard. And Michelle is sort of a slightly ditzy, clumsy, but, very well-meaning, loving artist. And I will just say this, we get to issue 12 at the end of the first story arc, they're different people.
Very nice. And it sounds like in each issue from there on, you're going to keep growing their characters.
And that's the thing, you need to take you need to take time to do that, right? It's not just their powers are cool. Using the Chinese characters is very flashy, and I like it as far aesthetically and everything. But I did not sacrifice like their personality or like character development or psychological treatment. So they all have strengths and weaknesses as people, and that comes to the fore. So, for example, let's take Jason, the guy in the front. Jason is a just do it, right? Do it, ask questions later kind of person. Sometimes that's very effective. Sometimes that's not.
Sometimes he gets you in trouble, doesn't it?
Exactly. And so but there's already books. I'm working on book 2 right now with Demas. We're already about halfway through issue 2. And, basically I don't waste too much time. Like on page 2 or 3, we're already seeing, for me, writing characters, normally you do the thing where they recommend your characters should have likes and dislikes. They should have strengths and weaknesses, which is all well and good. I have nothing to say about that. But I always found characterization or character building to be much more compelling if you ask yourself, what would my character do in certain moral situations? So if if, for example, let's throw I always think of those hidden camera shows way back in the day, right? Like you put a camera on someone and they're walking down the street and the dude drops his wallet full of money.
Right.
What do you do? So I always
do they go for it, or do they give it back, or do they steal it, or?
Yeah, exactly. And so they put these people through all sorts of ethical quandaries, right? Like they shoved in their face and they said, okay, well, what are you going to do? And so for me, writing characters is I went through each character and said I gave them different moral quandaries and said, okay, well, what do you do? Because that tells me more about them as people, right? What do they value? What do they think is right and wrong? How far are they willing to go?
That's interesting. That's pretty cool, man. It's almost like well, I don't even know. It's like some sort of new method of creating characters, something like putting them in through like a psychological test to see what kind of character comes out at the end.
Exactly. And, I mean, like I said, I wanted real characters that like spoke to the reader.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never quite heard of an elaborate method like that, but I think it's pretty smart. I think it actually sounds like it would really kind of flesh out the characters in a way that you might not necessarily get otherwise.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. No, it is a really good method, and I might have to try that out sometime.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, so we are getting closer to the end of our time. I do want to check out the rest of the page here, and also want to talk. It looks like you have some, as we mentioned, a few stretch goals, currently some secret stretch goals, it looks like, as well, that you might be revealing here soon.
Yeah, we basically, once we hit the 2,500 mark, then I will unlock the next stretch goal. So until then,
very cool. Okay. So if you want to check out and see what that next stretch goal is, we got to get that first one met.
Yep, exactly.
Very nice, very nice. And there you are, in front of your two posters there. And you actually got a pretty sweet shirt there for a Middle Kingdom. That's pretty awesome, man.
And with Jason on the front.
Mm-hmm. And then some art here. Oh, see, this is your letterer.
Yep, novella.
Nice.
And this is she's from Italy.
Okay.
And that's Demas and his psychedelic workstation, as I call it.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. I love the all the looks like we got some Evangelion stuff maybe, and some Gundams, and
yeah, he's a big anime fan.
Very nice. Very cool. And then what is the magic brushes?
So this is the magic system basically for the comic.
Oh, very cool. I love the art here too. It's just so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the colors really, I think are attractive. I think they really like mesh well with the story. So like here you see they have basically Michelle, Sabrina, and Jason have a phoenix as their guide.
Mm-hmm.
Sent to them by the Jade Emperor. His name is Xiao Feng Huang, but we just call him Xiao for short. And this is where he gives them their brushes, which is the basis of their power.
I see. So it's something that was kind of bestowed upon them.
Exactly. And in this case, it's a little bit under duress. They are being attacked by spirit wolves.
Which is never good. That's never a good situation to be in.
Yeah, never.
Which actually, I love these wolves. Those look so cool. Like, oh my god, I love that design there. Yeah, it's interesting.
Go ahead.
What was that? Oh, I was just gonna say the art. It a very, I don't know how it's got this really interesting quality to it. Almost I don't know. It's just such a unique style. Like the sharpness to it, or it's just, I don't know. It's hard to describe. I don't know. It's just a very unique style to it.
It's the coloration, but also it's Demas's very precise style.
Yes, totally. You're right. Yeah, it's very unique and a very sure kind of style.
So like even down to like their hair and everything, right? Like he does a lot of the small details, and so because of the coloration, it pops out at you, and so it's like a lot to visually take in, but also at the same time it remains simple.
Okay.
Like part of the reason I went, I actually interviewed about like 8 artists before settling on him. And one of the things that drew me to him was his ability to, when he draws a panel, it's very easy to understand specifically visually what he's trying to communicate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's important. Especially when you've got a lot going on the page, you don't want it to get muddled up.
Yeah, it's like here's got a little action shot, and then that's exactly with Jason using the brush. So Jason is Chinese. His grandfather taught him Chinese as a young child, even though he's been living in America, which actually spurred his grandfather to work harder to get him to learn Chinese characters, because he felt like living in America he wouldn't have as much opportunity. And so Jason's they got the brushes. The spirit wolves are bearing down on them, and Xiao explains that you write a Chinese character in the air. Whenever you write, it becomes real. And Jason says, again, so we're back to the characterization, right? Jason isn't going to question too much what you're saying. He's just you explain to him. He's like, cool, let's do it.
He's ready to get going with it. He's like, okay, got it, let's go.
Yeah, no questions, just go.
And so then I assume this is him using the water ability.
Yep, and so if you write water out in the air, you literally get water, and it can be used. It's a very flexible power. I'll say that much. In the second book, I get into the specifics of how it works, because there's some more little secrets I have about the brushes and how the specifics go. But as you can see, if he wrote water, and he can basically use it as an attack.
It's it's just the art is so pretty. It looks really good here. This is a great page.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with a little detail where he has like the waves inside the character. And
that's a really nice touch. Yeah.
Just these little touches that he does that really are exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah. I think that's another thing that makes it stand out too, is that connection with the actual language makes it feel really authentic and paying tribute to kind of where it comes from.
Because this is how I learned these characters. Like each character has a meaning. So the cool thing about the Chinese written system is that each individual character has a meaning associated, but not necessarily pronunciation. So that means that different areas of China, which speak completely different dialects, can read the same character, get the same idea, but say it differently.
That's really interesting. That's interesting. So it makes the written language easier to understand amongst different dialects, I would think.
Exactly. So because it's really meant, if we go way back in the day, like 1,500 years ago, the Japanese used Chinese characters, the Koreans used Chinese characters, the Vietnamese used Chinese characters. Everyone used this set of characters because, like, when I wrote water, it didn't matter if you said shui or mizi or mur. It doesn't matter what word you use. As long as you saw the character, it meant water.
Okay. And so then you could have easy, thing for them to be able to, and there'd be no misunderstanding there, no miscommunication.
Exactly. So, because there's China has over 56 different languages, and some of them are not. They're just they're totally different. There's different.
That's so wild. Yeah, that's so wild. That's another thing that, again, living over here in America, is just not something you can ever possibly comprehend or relate to. It's just so wild to think about that many dialects and languages, and it's like, wow, whew, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. We think dialect like British English, right? Like Queen's English or something like that.
Yeah, really.
This is in Chinese it's a bit further away, but the written system, keeps the meaning intact.
Yeah, and it kind of unifies that in that way. Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah.
So
and here we see another one. Oh yeah, here we have light. The symbol for light.
So Sabrina one-ups Jason in this panel. She also Sabrina and Jason share a trait in that they both will take action if action's required. Although Sabrina is definitely very sharp. Jason's attack worked, but it was good, but hers is better.
Interesting. Now I got a quick question for you. When they're doing these strikes here, are these kind of like mimicking how they would do the different strokes of the calligraphy, kind of in the that way that I understand you're supposed to kind of go in a specific direction and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
So top down, left to right. Let's just say in this scene we took a little artistic license.
Okay, fair enough. But it is maybe inspired by that idea, right?
I kind of, the whole point was just kind of show this is done in parts, right? It's it's a flow. Each different
exactly.
card.
Yeah.
It's a flow of how you do things. So it's and while that may not be specifically how you do it, it's still
The
showing that that's
idea
what
is
she's
there.
doing.
Yeah, I love that. I think because like it doesn't. I almost feel like it doesn't need to be 100% one-to-one, but it gives us the feeling of it, and that's what really I think sells the idea. You know.
Yeah, so because there's a four like it's I absolutely love this page, by the way.
Yes, it is very good. Yeah.
Yeah, this whole like this 5 stages of her writing it out, that was Demas's idea. Like
Really?
I initially just had the character, but he wanted to show the strokes and that we're constructing that, like we're writing the character stroke by stroke by stroke. So like
that is very cool.
Dot down over and then down and up. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a stroke order to it. So he wanted to sort of visually show that.
Visually represent that, and I also love that the strokes that you're doing are also visually representing the power they're trying to emulate. So you've got this kind of yellow glowing thing for the light, and then before we had a blue for when he was getting the blue power or the water power ready rather.
Exactly.
So that was really cool. Yeah.
And you can see like and they're powerful. Like, so these brushes, initially they're just like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? They're quite powerful. And like I said, the flexibility you get from them. Whatever, like as the series goes forward, Jason is the one who grew up learning Chinese. Sabrina knows a little bit. Like I said, she's kind of the high achieving, I'm going to get into Harvard, I'm going to be CEO of my own company kind of person. So she knows some basic stuff. Their friend Michelle knows absolutely nothing. Nothing. So part of their journey is to learn these characters how to use their powers.
Right. The more they learn, the better they can become at their powers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the more, not just the better they get at it, but also just the more knowledge of the words, I would think they have more access to more abilities, right?
Yes, exactly. So as it goes,
that's so smart, dude. That is so smart because they don't necessarily have the knowledge. It's like a magic power system where you have to gain the experience to get the stronger magic.
It's the RPG element. I always found that to be exciting.
Yes, it was really cool, man. I actually that kind of just clicked for me. That's really interesting.
So in book 2, we already see like elements of that starting to come to the fore. Because I'll say this, I put them in a situation where Jason can't necessarily help. They start to rely on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh man, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I love that idea. That's really interesting. Again, just so many elements of the book that is just so unique. And I feel like that's probably why there's people are coming to this book. I just think there's so much that you got going for this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had so much fun writing this. Every 2 or 3 weeks, when Demons is done with the fresh set of pages, it makes my heart soar. Like I could, to see something you've written and imagined and thought of, because I think of scenes and characterization, things I want to do in my drive to work, in the shower, on jogging. Like, you know what I'm saying? My mind is always working. And to see it like live in living color and like these bright, eye-catching colors, and to see my characters with facial expressions and emotions, it's super gratifying.
And looking right back at you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I agree. It's as someone who's worked with artists before, it is always one of the best feelings to get back, art. And you're right. It's just something that you've been imagining for so long. It's like the best feeling, honestly, is to get that back and to see it. It's better than you could, like I said before, better than you could have ever expected.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love these. These are fun too. These are kind of your character shots here. These are so good, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's some time. Like, I like these little poses that Demons did for them.
Yeah, me too. I love this facial expression too. Like, very serious, looking very serious right here. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's playful. Shows some of their personality. You know what I'm saying? It gives me a second to really go into a bit of their background. Jason is relied upon as leader of the group. He is in a position to know the most, but Was he listening to his grandfather at the time? Well, we'll find out. Does he remember?
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, I mean, each character has poses for each of them, and like I said, the drawing is just top notch. I just can't stress that enough. I'm just so taken aback by Demus's ability.
Yeah, how did you first meet Demus? Was it through social media that you first met?
Yeah.
Nice. That's a great way to get in contact with artists, isn't it?
So I'll say this to anyone who's thinking of writing a comic book. Connect with an artist. Don't there's a little bit of a thing with writers that we feel like, well, we can't draw, right? Like, well, what am I doing here? But
true, yeah.
But you are completely 100% necessary for the idea, for doing all the hard work, characterization of writing the story, the plot, finding something gripping for the viewer to listen to, and finding an artist you click. I went through I talked with 8 people, right? And if we didn't click, we didn't click. And I said to myself, I want this to be the best it can be. And if I want it to be the best it can be, I got to find someone who's on my wavelength. And if that means I have to wait a while to find that person, it's worth the wait.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's worth the wait because in the end, it's going to make the final result that much better.
So, I mean, the way he drew these characters is the way I pictured them in my mind. And that's how when he first gave the sketches back, I'm like, okay, we're thinking the same thing. We click. Let's work together.
Mm-hmm. And so was he immediately on board for the project then?
Oh yeah, like I said, we're halfway through book 2. We're
That's
full
awesome.
steam ahead.
It looks like is this maybe a proof copy here?
Yeah, I had a couple printed out just so nice. To see how it would look in live and living color, and
looks great.
Feel it.
Wow, I love it. It looks incredible in print, doesn't it?
Yeah, Comics Wellspring just does a great job.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it really brings the art, makes it pop, and just it looks really cool. That's awesome. And of course, we have our shot here of the first stretch goal print poster here.
Yep, the White Snake Maiden meeting her husband,
which is great. Again, very iconic, and I just love the balance of this imagery here. Yeah,
the symmetry of it is it's natural, so you don't notice it necessarily immediately. It's just like a cloth, kind of. Yeah, it really, it is very subtle. But once you point it out, it's there. Yeah, exactly. That's right. And it's I have to wonder if it's not something that was consciously put in, during the creation of that. Yeah. I would think so too. Yeah. But yeah, so if we meet our first stretch goal, all the physical print backers, you'll get a poster of that. And this is an example for people who wanted the digital desktop. This is one of them. Ah, okay, very nice. Okay, I love it. So this is Michelle having visions of the White Snake Maiden in her dream. Mm-hmm. And we can see Baisu Jun is there. She's sort of sad, looking off. It's a sort of melancholy from the darker tones of the purples and the browns, and we can see the birds in the background. And so, as I said before, for people who pledge the $20, they'll get 5 such digital backgrounds that they can put on their computer desktop. And each background is one piece of the story of the Legend of the White Snake Maiden and how it ties into issue number 1 in our characters. Well, that's really cool. I just think you guys are putting on such a really, really cool book here. This is just so interesting, and the art is, like you said, the art is top notch, and there's no surprise people are connecting with this book. I'm not surprised here at all. This is really cool stuff. Here's another preview of one of the desktops. Yep. These are fun. These are great desktop pieces. I mean, the purples and the pinks, and it's just the colors. It's something, because it's on your computer, right? If you're I'm a software engineer, so I work a lot on my computers. I want something nice to look at, right? So I'm like, yeah, these are great. These are wonderful. Why not, make this available? So you get if you back at the $20 level, you'll get 5 of these.
And I think that's I think this actually is teasing the Green Snake Maiden that you also mentioned as well, which is really cool. I love
Yep.
that dichotomy there of the two
I will
characters.
say this: that she will be a character in the series. You will
Very
see.
nice. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well,
And then here
that's
I get
very
into a
cool,
little bit
man.
of the future.
Oh yeah, so some adventures to look forward to. Of course, you mentioned the Princess of Ylang earlier,
Yep,
and
that's issue number 2 on the left, and then issue number 3 on the right is
oh,
Jochu
wow.
eliminates 3 evils, which is another really cool story.
Dude, that's awesome. Those covers are great. I love the tiger there on the right. That's awesome.
So as you can see, yeah, because Jochu is supposed to be able to defeat a tiger with his bare hands.
Interesting. Wow. Again, this is exciting, man. It's really fun, the world you're creating with these characters and the designs and just everything that you're bringing to the table here. I love what you and your team are cooking up here.
Yeah, it's like I said, seeing like these covers, I like Demas and I got together. I wanted to show people, not just issue number 1, Legend of the White Snake Maiden, that I have a larger vision going on. That I have a plan,
Nice.
and that these
Yep.
adventures are going to take place, and I'm doing these stories, and I think this visually shows it.
Yeah, you mentioned you're a planner, and it definitely seems like that is very true. I believe that. It's really cool to see you planning the future, and these issues look really good. So hopefully we'll be able to see you come back for future crowdfunding campaigns or endeavors. We'll be able to see these books again in the near future.
Oh yeah, definitely count on it.
Excellent. Well, I think we're getting close to the end of our page here. It looks like that's the bottom of the page there. So yes, again, the crowdfunding campaign has reached its goal, but 15 days to go, so there's plenty of time to reach the stretch goals. Currently, one stretch goal unlocked, which is the poster, and there's 2 secret stretch goals that will continue to unlock as more stretch goals get revealed here.
Yep.
And unlocked. So definitely keep pushing it. Please get the word out there, spread it for everybody to see, and it's a really cool comic. Again, it's got so much going from it, from the isekai nature to the Chinese folklore and the writing and the magic and just the fun stories that they're bound to be told here. I just think there's a lot going on. I really hope you I wish you all the luck with that, and hope that everyone please checks that out. I'm again going to put the link on the screen there, so if you can, it's also in the chat if you're watching live. And so head to that link there to check out all the tiers that we went over tonight and to pick something up for yourself. Of course, you can always back. If you don't want to pick anything up, you can always back. Even just $1 helps out. So please check that out, and you can follow along as a fan if you want to there. And as we close up here and wrap up, is there anything you want to say to the fans out there or the people who are considering backing your book today?
I would say that if you'd like to see more of the artwork, more of my ideas, you can go to jtmkcomic.com, which is the home site. It has the webcomic available for free. I have a blog where I talk about different subjects, Chinese folklore, Chinese culture. I also talk about the process I went through for writing the script and bringing it and working with the artist. So if you are a person who is wondering about whether or not they should do their own comic, my advice: do your own comic, get into it, start learning how to do panels or writing and whatever you can do to get started. So jtmkcomic.com will have all the kinds of information like that.
Perfect. And I'm gonna go and put that here as well, so people I'm gonna go put it in the chat so people can check that as well and follow up on all the cool stuff you got in there. And again, thank you again for joining us. It's been a really great talk to me tonight, your comic, and I'm just finding myself even more excited than ever before about the future of your comic and where it's going to go. So I just can't wait to see what you do with it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And again, everybody, please check it out. It's currently crowdfunding on Kickstarter for another 15 days. So check it out and see if it's something that you want to pick up. And if you do, please support it. It would really help out. And Jonathan definitely would appreciate that. And so thanks again, guys. We will see you guys on a future episode of our show. And everybody have a great night. Take care, everyone.